Hey, what's up everyone? Gibberish here. Making a quick video on how to configure OmniCD and BigWigs. There's been a massive update recently to OmniCD and BigWigs, and so some of the profiles that I had included on the Discord and in TXT files that are available to all the fabled myths and legends and immortals out there, those strings have kind of borked because of the update. So again, I wanted to make this video to show you how to configure it yourself, because it's going to take me quite some time to update and send all of those other profiles out to you all. So wanted to make a quick video on how to do this. First thing you want to do is set up the skins for the add-ons. So if you go into Altruism, skins, add-ons, make sure that you have BigWig skinned. I like adding shadows to the bars, looks really good. I also like using custom colors for the normal bar and the emphasize bar. Then go into other add-ons and make sure that you have OmniCD skinned as well. Once you have both these toggled on, you're going to get a pop-up that requires a reload. Accept the reload. Then you can hop into OmniCD. Let's start here first. Now, first place you want to go into is Dungeons and Test. This will give you a good visual of just where exactly things are at right now. And so depending on how you have your frames set up, you'll want the icons maybe over to the left of the frames. You may want them underneath or over to the right. It just depends. So I'm going to show you on a DPS profile like this how to set it up. I'm going to show you how to set it up below and over to the left, and then I'll apply it for a healing profile where we have some centered frames here. So first things first, toggle the test so you can see what this looks like. And if you want, you can open up ElvUI again and go into unit frames and check out what status bar texture is being used for the unit frames. So in this case, I'm using MAUI v3. So in OmniCD, you can actually match the texture. So if you hop into General, go to Textures, use this drop down, and find MAUI v3 and apply. And the BG is for the background as well. So this may obviously be different depending on what profile you're using and what textures you like. You can also adjust the font. So in this case, for the Clouded Judgment DPS profile, we're using the Pepsi font that's included with Altruism. Oh, I just picked the wrong one. There we go. Now we got Pepsi. You can change the font for the icon and anchor as well, but really all I care about is the bars. That's where the font is actually going to show up. So now we'll go back in Dungeons, and it looks like the icons right now are right in the name text on the party, so obviously not a great spot. So we'll need to move these around. So if you go into anchor position, or position, and then go into the anchor area, we can move these over to the left. We can adjust the y-axis, and let's have it even with the frame. And then adjust the X and bring it over to the left a little bit more. You can go into icons then, and we can adjust the sizing if we want. You can make these extremely large. You can make them very small. So I personally like them to be just about there. It looks pretty good. Move over a little bit more to the left. Now for the other party members, once you are in an actual party with other classes, and their spells and abilities will be showing here too, they'll be just directly of their over to the left of their frame as well. The other thing I adjust then is just the extra bars. This is the interrupt bar. I typically only use an interrupt bar and these icons. You could set up additional bars if you wanted to. It's up to you. This would actually show a different set. I'm not even sure what this one would be. Looks like CCs. So you could set up another bar if you wanted to and set these up somewhere. You can make them icon only and not just have them as a status bar. But I personally just like having the icons showed here, and the interrupts. Keeps it very simple for me to visualize it. You can then move and drag this interrupt bar wherever you like. You can adjust the size of this. So with this setup where I already have pretty thin frames, I'll probably keep it fairly small. There's no real way to adjust the height on the interrupt bar, unless I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure that's the case. If you find out a different way, let me know. You can change the name scale here as well. But now that I have them kind of where I want them, just kind of right below the frames for the interrupts, I can go ahead and lock it. And this is what it'll look like now in an actual party. You could put the interrupt bar up top too and have them grow upwards. So if you want to lock it in right here, and then the interrupt bars will just go up once you are in a party. Extremely easy, right? Like that's all I do. I adjust the texture, I adjust the font, I then am in dungeons, and I change the position, the X offset and Y, and then icon size, and then in extra bars for the interrupt bar, you can just place this where you want and then lock the frame so you don't see that the interrupts name on there. Super easy. So let's say we're in a healing profile now though. Let's switch over. Fabled Mender. And let's do a quick reload so things show up properly. I can then open up ElvUI again, just to show you what these look like. Have the centered frames for a healing profile. So an OmniCD profile with icons over to the left won't really work here in this scenario unless you put them like directly in the frame and make them extremely tiny. So we'll just need to change the position. So if I go in and hit test, you don't even see them now because they're not positioned correctly, but under position, instead of left, hit more, and we can do bottom left, bottom left. You could also put them up top if you wanted to. Just make sure you do the anchor point and the attachment point on the same level. That's what I've always done. That's how it's easy, a little bit easier to configure. Now we can adjust the x-axis, have them over on the bottom left of the frame, and adjust the Y. Super easy. I can adjust the number of icons that are shown here. So let's say I did want to have 5, but I don't like that there's like a little gap here. All you have to do is adjust the icon size and kind of eyeball it. You may have to put your face up close to the screen to see. But 72% looks pretty pixel perfect here, to me at least, which isn't saying much, as a lot of you know. For the extra bars, I can unlock the frame, and I may want to have this grow downwards, and just for maybe looks, I could put it directly under this left hand side of the frame. I can maybe make this a little bit bigger and put it under my character frame. I could place it over here by details. This is not the right details profile for this setup, but you get the gist. You can kind of change and configure this wherever you want the interrupt bar. I would say under the party over on the left hand side would look really good. I would just try to maybe match the size of it, of one of the frames. And since it's centered, it may look pretty good just directly in the middle as well, or like I showed before, just down here by details. With the position, you don't have to have them all lined up horizontally here. In the nerd profile, if you check out my YouTube, I actually just have them straight down like this. So you can just change the column. It sets the number of icons per row here. So there you go. You know, if I wanted to have 6 visible icons, you could adjust the rows to have just like 3 or 2 and more have like a rectangle shape to them. But anyways, I think it usually looks good, and it's more than enough information for me just to have 3 or 4 visible icons at a time. If you want to choose the icons that are showing in OmniCD, all you have to do is go into spells and go into offensive, defensive, utility, trinket, racial, traits, and you can go into each class and choose what spells you want to be shown in OmniCD. So super easy to do that. Come in and add whatever spells you want. You can go into the interrupts. It'll show each of the class interrupts that are shown for your interrupt bar. I recommend messing around with this, checking it out, and start setting up your own profiles. Make it the way that you want it to look. The next thing we were going to show is BigWigs. So first thing I typically do is I just come in, I'll go into bars, and create some test bars and see where things are at. This is where you can come in and configure the stylization of the bars. I love altruism style. It has like a little bit larger icon over to the left. And since we have the skin, it has a nice shadow effect on the bars. You could also do this top text. This is a new feature. Trenchy had put in a request for this. So shout out to Trenchy. And obviously shout out to Altruism for applying it and implementing it. Lots of different bar options with BigWigs. So check these out. Check out the stylization and see what you like. I personally like the 2 Altruism options. And then again, this is where you can match the texture that you're using on your unit frames to BigWigs and OmniCD. So I can come in and choose whatever I want. The MediaTek N38 really makes things pop, so I like this one a lot, but we can choose the MA V3. Here it gives us this kind of like darker look to it. Then I'll show moving anchors, and I'll drop the bars where I like. I will typically have just the normal bars over to the right over my details, or I'll have them down here in the center, depending on what profile I'm using. For this case, let's put this over here on the right hand side, and maybe I'll forget about this like gap right here, and let's just focus on the details bar. So I'll try to match this best I can. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. And for these main bars, I'm going to want them to grow upwards because I don't want them to go downwards into details. I want to see them go up this way. Make these a little thicker and move them over to the right a little bit. You can adjust the font size of the bars here as well. You'll see some of this is a little funky because I swapped from altruism to top, so it may just require a reload, or if you just hit enough create test bars, it should go back to normal, but you may still get one until you reload. For the bars, I typically put a visible bar limit as well because I don't want this to go all the way up into my map. Like, you could have a ton of bars. I don't think there's any fight that would have this many happening, but I'll typically do, 4 to 10 showing. I never want it to go above like unit frames or clip into my boss frames or anything like that. So that's how I set up the bars. And then for emphasize bars, I typically like them over the target or over my player frame, or sometimes they're just kind of up here where I'm looking. Like if I have my weak cores here and the targets here with the nameplates, my eyes are sometimes like right in this area. So I like having the emphasize bars up here to the right. But to get the positioning, you just want to keep clicking on the create test bars and configure it this way. There's also exact positioning, so if you don't like doing the manual work, you can actually type in like an ElvUI frame here and have it anchor directly onto your player frame or target. In the description in the video, I'll put in an example here. I don't have all of these custom anchor point names down, but please ask in the Discord. There's tons of people that can help out, and a lot of ElvUI devs actually as well. But this is how I usually do it, just manually configure, because I change the look and feel of these constantly. Then you can come into messages. You can change the font here. You can change the emphasize messages. For the main messages, I'll typically put them just right over the emphasize bars. And that is literally it. So it's all about changing some of the fonts. There's also a font in Countdown, so make sure to take this into consideration if you want the fonts to match. And then for bars in general, you can choose the style, font, texture. You can set up the exact positioning if you want. Under bars, you can have them grow upwards or downwards. And you are off to the races. And now with the new functionality with BigWigs, here's an Ace3 error, you can export these profiles. So again, over time, I will share profiles out for specific profiles, but it's gonna take a long time. So please be patient. But also, you just saw how easy it is. This has taken me just a few minutes to go in and configure it myself. So I hope this video is helpful. Please comment, let me know if this was helpful or not. Or if you have any questions, join the Discord, discord.gg/gibberish. Appreciate all the support. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks, everyone.